Beginning of my video. Boom!
Welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring Land.
Oh, just
on.
kidding.
Blasphemer!
Hello,
Alright.
Boring Review Nation!
Kind of pointless.
We know all things. It was over in a snap.
Do you really want it? Alright, we'll be nice.
Only you can be a Patreon. You don't need to follow the show to be hyped.
Alright, welcome back to Boring Reviews. Nick here. We are here at Boring Land, and I am giving you my solo review for the movie Newton. Not Newton, Newton. And this is a film that I saw right after I did the trailer reaction. A lot of our videos sometimes are posted a few days after we record them. So I recorded the trailer reaction, and I was incredibly impressed with this movie. Incredibly impressed by the trailer that I had to go and watch it. And I mentioned in that trailer reaction that I am not very political, because I'm not. I see the value of politics. I see the value of government and democracy and all that good stuff and voting, but it's not really my cup of tea when it comes to the kind of movies I want to watch, unless it's done well, or unless it's done in a more comedic way. And so this film really surprised me with how much the trailer hooked me in, and so I had to check it out, and I did. So I'm here to give you my thoughts on the movie Newton, and this is a movie, this was an experience that was different for me, because I knew after the reactions from the trailer, from you, I had found out this is a very beloved movie. It came out in 2017, so a few years back, and from what I was told, it was a huge festival darling. It had a lot of rave reviews. And so I wanted to watch the movie first and then see what some of the critics were saying about it, what their thoughts were, because there's a whole lot of this film that I just didn't understand, because I don't understand the democracy and the voting trends in India. I didn't understand some of the things that were being portrayed as a big deal, and I didn't really understand why they were a big deal without having that background knowledge. So I wanted to read other reviews, see what other people were saying, get some synopsis, get a better understanding of what was going on. And not that I fully understand what the movie's about now, but I feel like that helped me better understand my review for the film. Because my initial reaction as I'm watching the film halfway through is I was thinking to myself, I wish this will pick up a little bit. I wasn't dazzled by it. I wasn't as blown away as I was in the trailer. And typically a festival darling is not a movie that I get pumped up for, but it's a movie I have to see, because I always want to learn as a lover of film. I don't call myself a critic. I really do. I don't even call myself a reviewer, even though I do movie reviews. But if I can call myself a critic for a second, as a critic, I want to be better at that, and I want to better understand the nuances and the things that people are responding to that maybe I did not respond to. So as I'm watching this movie, there's things that are obvious that were very strong. Let's talk about the things that I really liked going into this film. Let me talk about some of the things that kind of I did not love. And then I want to talk about, after learning more about the movie and what was going on, kind of some of my views now on the film and as a story was being told, if that makes sense. So let me start off with the things that were obviously very, very good. This movie is directed by, and it is his second film that he's directed. This is Amit V. Masakar. Being his second film, or what we call his sophomore effort, very, very strong. This film is it knows what it is, and it's directed in a way that we are led on this journey in a very, I don't want to say easy to follow, because I was confused by some things, but easy to follow journey. It lets us know what's going on. It lets us know a little bit basic history on how polling works and how they get these polling officers to go out there and make sure that the votes get done correctly and all this kind of stuff. And the direction of this was very strong. The tone was very evident, and the direction also lends into the acting. And so Rajkumar Rao, who plays Newton, I read a review by Sable Chatterjee from Indie TV gave a great review on the film. And when I say great, I mean he was very positive, but it was great to help me better understand. And he makes a great point where he says this is Raj Kumar's film, because it really is 100%. And there's certain actors that go into a role that kind of just transform. And I'm not talking makeup, I'm not talking about costume, I'm just talking about they transform what you expect to see them in this role. And that's what Raj Kumar does. I've seen him in Gangs of Wasseypur, but my first introduction to him was in Stree, his performance as Vicky. And he's very comedic, he's very energetic, and he's very hopeful, and he's just such a great, endearing character in Stree. But in this role, I knew he was a strong actor. In this role, he really becomes Newton. This is really his film, and it's his vehicle. And it's his focus. I always mention that with strong acting performances, like in Joaquin Phoenix's performance last year in Joker. Raj Kumar is focused. He knows who the character is. He was able to tap into that character as he was preparing, and he delivers that character to us in a very profound way, in a very subtle way as well. He does a fantastic job, and that goes credit from Amit, the director, making sure that his actors were prepared, and that they knew where they were going. They knew what their motivation was, as we talk a lot about in Jokes. But it's really knowing who that character is, and Raj Kumar does that. But Raj Kumar is not alone in this film. There is a lot of fantastic actors. There's, of course, Pankaj Tripathi from Mirzapur and so many other things, also in Stree. He plays the military officer, not military, but I guess police officer, who he was in the camo, so it makes me think military, who's there out in this jungle, who's as a police escort protection for the polling officer, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But we also have some other actors, Anjali Patil, and I believe that she played the girl. She was, not only was she beautiful and very intriguing, she played Malco, but she also did a fantastic job. She was very focused. She knew what her character was, and even though she was a side or minor character, she really made her presence felt in the way she reacted and the very simple, subtle facial expressions when Newton's talking to her, and because she is the local who's helping out the polling officer. She's the one that is from that area, and she's the one where Pankaj's character doesn't really want her there. He doesn't want her slowing down. He doesn't trust her. He doesn't know if she can be trusted because he's had some issues with some of the, I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but Maoist, M-A-O-I-S-T, that group that was thwarting a lot of the voting processes and were really causing a lot of problems, serious, dangerous problems to those who were trying to vote and for certain voting parties. And so he didn't trust her. Is obviously he didn't trust her. But she did a great job of playing that outsider, but also having confidence in the role that she had. And then we also have the other actor who did a fantastic job, and this is mentioned in the article, Raghuber Yadav, and he plays the assistant of Newton, and he brought a lot of levity to the film. He was an older gentleman. He's been there. He's done that, and so he portrayed that very, very nicely. And there were certain times where he just kind of like was shaking his head at Newton and just like, let's just not worry about that. Can we just move on? Let's get some good food. Let's just get this job done by any means necessary so we can get out of here. I'm not about to sacrifice my life for 77 people to vote. And so I really want to start off with the actors because they did a strong job that was obvious. I connected with all those characters and they did a fantastic job. Tripathi's character was driving me crazy, but that's the point, because he's getting in the way of Newton. But they did a great job. Just the score was very subtle in a lot of ways, kind of like the quiet jungle, the rural area they were in. So that was a nice touch. The tone, the location they were at was beautiful, even though it was also terrifying that it could be attacked at any moment. And so all that was very, very intriguing. That part was obvious. The ending, super fantastic, super powerful of how his resolution, his determination to get the job done correctly was going to fall that way 100%. By hook or by crook is a phrase out there. He's going to get this done no matter what. And he doesn't care if it's 77 people. He doesn't care if only 46 of them vote. He's going to get his job done. And that's the essence of this film. If you have not seen the film, I'm going to do it very, very basically. I don't want to spend too much time on the synopsis. I really want you to check it out and so you can figure it out. But basically, a polling officer from the government, from the voting area, they need to go out into this remote location where there's 77 registered voters, and they need to get their votes for this upcoming election. And it's in a very dangerous jungle-type area, kind of on the outskirts, and it's something that no one really wants to take that task. The person that was assigned it, he says, I can't go over there. I have this problem or I have that problem. I can't do it. And so Newton is a reserve. He's got an MA in physics, for crying out loud. This is a very intelligent person. He went and got his degree. His parents want him to get married and move on with that part of his life, but he wants to do different things. And it seems like he doesn't want to be tied down by an arranged marriage. If he wants to get married, it's going to be through love. And they even, there's a comical scene in the trailer where they meet the family, and this girl's 16, and he's like, Dad, she's 16. She is not even educated yet. She's stopped going to school for 8th grade so she can prepare to be a mom. That's not really what I want. And his dad's frustrated. Like, I don't care what you want. We're going to get this dowry of this million rubies or whatever. That's what I want. And you're going to be a good son. And so you have that conflict. But this is Newton's character. He knows what he wants, and no one's going to stop him. And I respect that character that way 100%, because there's certain things that I know that I want, and I go after those things, but sometimes I do allow others to get in the way. I allow others to sway me a little bit to where it delays me, but not completely. And this character he knew what he wanted, and he didn't care if it was his parents that were going to be mad at him, his job officials, or whoever it was. He was going to get the job done. And so he agrees to take this task. They have to go through helicopter to get to this area. They have this police escort of all these guys who are like, they look to me like Army Ranger type. They had the gun, they had the camouflage, they had the training, and they were to get him in to this polling area, which had been deserted, and get the job done for those 12 hours and get him out safely. And so that was Tripathi's main idea. And for him, he had his agenda to get in and get out and not lose any more of my men, because you can tell he's already lost men. And Newton's his agenda was, I don't really care about your men. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get this job done, and we're going to let these people vote. And in this situation, in this area, and that's what's so beautiful about the writing team of this movie and the director, in this film, that's the biggest part of the movie. And I feel like that was the part I was missing that these reviewers helped me out with when I initially watched it. I saw this movie as, okay, he wants to get this job done. This police guy, he's really getting in the way. It's really a bummer. Are they doing that just to create some conflict? And then all that for not a whole lot of voters. And then there's this thing happens where, Raj Kumar's holding the gun. We're going to get this done. And the movie ends. And I appreciated the acting. I appreciated the direction. I appreciated the writing. The writing was fantastic. Some of the jokes were in there. It was kind of like a dark comedy or dry comedy type jokes, but there was some good jokes in there. The character development was good enough, but it was like a whole lot to do about nothing when it came to the end of it. And the thing I missed after reading reviews, 2 different reviews in particular, especially the one I keep from Sable, is that the situation that's going on is that in India, there's so many voters that elections can sometimes go to just who's the most popular, to where some of these people in these smaller areas, they don't stand a chance because they're only 77 out of however hundreds of millions registered voters there are. What does their choice matter? What are they going to do? They're not going to make any kind of impact. They don't even know who the elected officials are that are running, for crying out loud. And so why do we care about them? And that was the whole essence of this film, where Newton, he cared about democracy. He cared about people being able to have their right to vote. And that's the beautiful thing. That's what, the light turned on for me as I was thinking about this film, is that it's about the importance of voting. It does not matter if your one vote is going to be the thing that tips the scales. What matters is you have a right to vote. You have a right to make a difference. Even if you lose, you have a right to make a difference, and you should carry out that right. And it was interesting because the police, Tripathi, he was talking about, we can vote for them. We'll just pick the names. It doesn't matter. Let's just get in and get out. He did not care about the procedure, because in times past, no one else cared. But here's Newton, who changed his name, and help me out in the comment section. Why was Newton such a name that he felt was embarrassing that he wanted to change to Newton? Was it just because people were calling him Newton, like Isaac Newton, and he decided just to, can't beat him, join him, so I'm just going to officially change it? Let me know, okay? Because I was confused about, and I even tried to look it up. I couldn't get an answer. The only somewhat answer I got was that maybe it was usually a girl's name. I don't know. Please let me know in the comment section, because I was confused by that. But Newton was resolute. He was not going to. He was very persistent. He was there to get that job done and to do it right, so that on his watch, these people got their right to vote. And it wasn't just a duty thing. He really cared about democracy. He cared about what these people felt. Whether they voted for someone he cared about or not, he left that out the window. That wasn't part of it. He wanted them to vote. They had to have their ID card, their voting card. They had to show up. They had to sign in. They had to go through the whole process. One guy was trying to get these people that were not well educated in that area, in that juggle. They had like 30 of them. And he said, just point to the button that you like, or the name that you like. And Newton's like, no, that's not correct. And he literally had to almost fight in the first half of this film, or the first 2/3, with these police officers. He had to fight against them who were protecting him to get them to do it right, because he was not going to allow their right to be taken away, even if they weren't educated enough in that right. He wanted them to be able to have that right and make their choice. If they want to choose a button because it was the best one, he wanted them to choose it because that was their decision, not because they were instructed that way, because that's not how voting is done. And so that was really powerful. That was really interesting, and that was something that I was missing, the small essence of how these people have the right to vote. Doesn't matter what their deficiencies are in the information. They have a right to vote. So let's get it done. Let's not give up because we're afraid to die. And most people, including myself, I'm not going to put my life on the line so that 77 people whose vote are really probably not going to matter so they can get their voting right done. But that's what separates this character, Newton. He was determined. That's what helped him, graduate from high school, graduate with his master's degree in physics, was that decision to keep going and not give up until he accomplishes his goal. And it's the writing that allows that to happen, but it's really Rajkumar's performance. I mean, he is so stoic. He becomes Newton. And there's a scene, a few of them, where he's sitting there at his desk and he allows the process to happen. He's sitting there at his desk. He can do the whole thing himself because some of these people don't understand what's going on, but he's just there to oversee, and he lets each person do their job. And I thought that small thing was really, really interesting as a part in the movie, that the character Newton knew his place, knew what his job was, and he wanted everyone else to have their job. Sometimes in life, we want to get everything done a certain way, so we just do it all ourselves without allowing each person who has that role to get their role done, even if they may not be the strongest in that role. And there's a part in the movie where Tripathi and Newton are almost breaking bread, so to speak. Tripathi brings him some food. Our differences. I need you to eat, so I'm not going to let that keep you from eating. Here's some food. And then they stage this whole attack, gunfire. And Newton gets worried, so he's packing everything up. And Tripathi's like, go, get out of here right now. We got to go. And he thinks it's real. We think it's real. At least I did. And then he starts to put the pieces together as he's walking away. This is near the end of the movie. And this is what, even the first time through, was awesome for me. He's starting to put the pieces together that, did anyone else see these guys gunfire? It's interesting that after you guys ate, this happened. And interesting that this is what happened when this happened. And so he realized that it was a coup, not a coup, but it was fake. And so he was going to go back and get the voting done. And Tripathi and his men, they had it. They weren't going to do it that. And so one guy was trying to keep it under wraps, but Rajkumar starts running, so he starts running, and it gets to a situation where they're all at the standstill. Even his own guys on his side who work for the polling department are saying, let's just go, let's get out of here, where they see some voters, and he's going to get those, I think it was 4 people, their votes in. And so he gets a gun from Tripathi, he holds it to all the men, which is a big mistake, and he says, we're not going to leave until this is done. We're not going to leave. Tripathi tries to be cool, and this is where Pankaj's acting really shines at this moment. He tries to play it off and cool, fine, we'll wait, whatever, knowing I'm going to get him as soon as he puts that gun down. But Rajkumar doesn't care. He is persistent, and he accomplishes his goal. And there was no more evidence seen than that. But as I'm reading the review on my phone, it's really putting the pieces together on why this movie was so well liked. It's not a wow movie. It's not an entertaining film as far as glitz and glamour and special effects. And if you really know me, I don't really care about those things. For me, it's how I react to a movie. And I initially reacted positively, but not as positively as everyone else. So I wanted to see what I was missing. And so I hope that makes sense. Overall, I liked this movie. But I love the message it was sending and the way they illustrated it through these characters. I love the Newton character. Rajkumar does a fantastic job. The other actors I mentioned also do a fantastic job. But Rajkumar, again, it's his film. And it's very evident that it's his film. I'm trying to think of some other moments that I thought was cool or clever. There was some lines that Malco's character gave, which were very powerful because she's a local, and so this is her life. And so I don't think she's ever seen anyone like Newton care about voting the way he does. And we don't really get her opinion of how she feels about it. For her, she's got a job to do. She's a school teacher, and she cares about the kids in the local area. She's teaching them this or that. So we assume that she really cares about it. That's why she's there. But she doesn't really voice her opinions too much about that. But she became a very endearing character to me, because her and Newton had kind of this unofficial bond. And so the last thing that we had... So Newton pulls the gun on all the police. Eventually he puts it down once the voting's done. And then they all attack him. He's on the floor and they're kicking him. They're beating the snot out of him. And we see him, I think it's 6 months later, 3 or 6 months later. And Malcolm has made it to his office that he's working at. I'm guessing he's working for the polling agency officially now because he was just a reserve. And he's at a desk, and he's got a neck brace, and he's kind of sitting like this. And she's like, oh, my gosh, what happened? He's like, oh, no, don't worry about it. This is just a precaution. We're good. But they reconnect. They decide to have lunch, and he has to, hold on, I got 5 more minutes. I got to finish my work. I mean, the writing, just that one moment, made everything so consistent. That was Newton's character. He was so excited to see this girl that I'm assuming he had kind of a crush on. Come back and give him some attention. He's got a date with her. Super excited. Most people, including myself, if I was in that situation, it's 5 minutes. Let's go. No one's going to care. But he had 5 more minutes, so let me get 5 more minutes of work done. I think that's awesome. And I didn't, even though I said, me, 5 minutes, let's go. If this is going to be my future bride-to-be or whatever, maybe. But I do respect work ethic, and so I really liked that. I liked how he's in his neck brace. It's not a big deal because I feel like for him, whoever voted, that was a successful job well done, even though he had to sacrifice literally his body to get those things done, and he's still paying the consequences. He's got a smile on his face. He's all happy. He's getting his work done. Oh, this is just precaution. I love that ending scene. I think you take that ending scene out, the movie, it suffers a little bit without that ending scene, even though it had no real effect to the plot. It was a great ending, and that's kind of what I'm talking about with my review in Lunchbox. Is I don't need a great, huge, wow, happily ever after ending, but just something that is consistent through so that we can get a little more morsel, so to speak, a little more food to really enjoy this movie. And so the ending in Newton did a fantastic job. This filmmaker, Amit, really knows what he's doing, and I appreciate that. But as far as a grade for Newton, I'm going to make my grade based on how I felt when I watched it, how I felt after I did some research and synopsis and the reviews from other people and their thoughts. And this guy gave it 4 out of 5, by the way. So 4 out of 5 in Born Reviews. That's about a B+, just so you know. And he really liked it, but he gave it a 4 out of 5. I'm going to give it based on how I felt thinking about it, because it has been a few days since I've watched it. And so my grade for Newton, I'm going to give this film, because I got to be consistent. I got to be honest. I got to put everything into it, how well it was made, how much I responded to it, how much it made me think afterwards, how much I appreciate it, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to copy this guy in a little bit in a little way, I'm going to give it a B plus as well. He gave it 4 out of 5. That's 80%. Technically, in the American grading system, a regular B is 80%. I'm going to go just a little higher to a B plus because I really love the Newton character. I really love Rajkumar's performance. The side characters, the writing, the directing was all great. Tripathi did a good enough job. I don't think this was his strongest performance, but a good enough job. But there was parts, and maybe it's just an American perspective, there was parts that were kind of lost on me. Even when I did some research, there were some parts that, I haven't lived in that world. I live in a world where there's people in this country that don't care about voting. Not everyone, not most people, but there's people that just don't care. And so I can understand that, but it's not that these people didn't care, it's just that they didn't have the access to. So it's a very powerful film, but it's not a film that's going to hit my top 5 or my top 10 as far as Indian films I've watched, because for me, call me different. I know a lot of you, you kind of don't agree with some of my reviews, and that's fine, whatever. I got to be honest. I got to be consistent. And for me, it's a B+. I will say it was probably close to a B- until I started thinking about it, and I started taking into consideration how much you loved it and trying to understand what was the disconnect. And so by understanding that, it went up a little bit to a B+. But I'm telling you right now, if you don't like my grade, that's fine. Obviously, I care about what you think because you're the viewers. You're the one watching the YouTube channel. But I'm always going to tell you the truth. But I want to understand why so many people reacted in a different way than I did. And I don't want to say it's just because I'm from a different country, because film should transcend and translate in many different avenues, in many different countries. And so that way of thinking did bump it up to a B+, is what I'm trying to say. But there's my review. There's my reaction to the film, my breakdown, my analysis. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's more fun with my friends, but again, sometimes it doesn't happen. They weren't able to check this movie out, but we have many more reviews coming. They're coming back for many more videos. We just had our live stream to celebrate 10,000 subscribers. It's unbelievable. We actually hit that last week, and now we're already at 11,000 plus. I mean, it's unbelievable. We appreciate everyone that showed up to the live stream. That was so much fun. We will be doing it again. We don't have a date yet, but we will be doing it in the near future. If you are new to Boring Reviews, go ahead and check out some other reviews that we have and some other reactions and, see what kind of craziness we've gotten into. And go ahead and like this if you like the review. You don't have to agree with the review, but if you appreciate the thoughts, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And go ahead and let me know what you thought in the comment section. Let's always keep it respectful, please, as all times. And don't forget to check out Patreon as well if you want to support us. Until next time, adios.